This is Sunrise Extra, streaming live on Wave Now.
Good morning and happy Thursday or Friday Eve.
That's right.
If you want to look at it that way.
Good way to look at it. Hey, and plus I'm off tomorrow.
Oh,
so
must be
it's
nice.
like my Friday.
Your Friday.
It's like my Friday, yeah.
Okay, well, bye. And then you're off on Monday, too. So
I
you
am.
don't have to even deal with the Monday blues.
Oh, I love that for you. I love that for you. And you're going to miss a lot of like that crazy heat as well. So that's some good things right there, I think. Yeah.
Thank you for that.
I'm trying to help you out. I'm trying to hype you up even more.
Enjoy your weekend.
But yeah, while you're gone, we'll miss you, and we'll talk more about the heat. Olivia and I will be here sweating with Rob as well as we deal with some more of those 90s coming our way. We're watching a little bit more of that fog trying to develop some as we get through this 7 o'clock time frame, just because we're now at the point where the sun is up, and then that light is reflecting off of the water droplets in the fog, and that leads to even lower visibility. Thankfully, this is not a widespread issue, but still, you just want to make sure you're keeping that in mind as you're heading out the door. Here is the storm tracker right now. This is what we're seeing. Not a whole lot traveling through downtown Louisville. Things are quiet and calm. You can see these upper level clouds overhead, though, making for a beautiful morning. That matches with what we're seeing as well on the satellite and radar. No rain in our region to start off the day, but that may not be the case for you later on this afternoon. 60s and 70s for your current temperatures. We'll end up in the upper 80s and low 90s this afternoon as we watch for that isolated rain chance, but most of us should be A-okay. And of course, we're still keeping an eye on the tropics because we do have Tropical Storm Erin now with winds of 50 miles per hour. It is expected to become a major hurricane once we get into the weekend. So if you have any plans maybe to head to the Caribbean, anywhere from Guadeloupe all the way to the Dominican Republic, could see some impacts from the outer bands of this storm, especially as it starts to get a little bit stronger. So we'll be watching the strength of this. And by the way, this is going to play a role in our cool down for later on next week. I'll talk about that in just a bit.
Thank you.
I'm angry at the individual who killed this woman today. I'm angry at the two people who shot at the same bus stop last week. I'm angry that people still do this in 2025 in our city at bus stops, and that we keep having the same conversations over and over again.
Louisville city leaders searching for answers and a shooter after a woman is fatally shot while walking a child to a bus stop, and LMPD is looking for that person. Chief Paul Humphrey says a shooting happened around 8 a.m. yesterday near a bus stop at 10th and West Chestnut Street, close to Central High School, also the same area where shots were fired on the first day of school just last week.
A teenage suspect was taken into custody and questioned by detectives. Officials say after that team was questioned, detectives released him, saying he was not the suspect. Now LMPD has released this image of the suspect, and they're asking the public to come forward with information to help identify him. Wave News reporter Rob Wells tracking developments in this case. Rob.
And Olivia, good morning to you. Police are hoping that that image that you just showed may help tip them off as to who the killer is. And still so many unanswered questions, such as was this a targeted attack or just a random act of violence in our city? The shooting happening in front of parents and students. Witnesses tell us that the woman killed was with a child who was not hurt. LMPD Chief Paul Humphrey says Wednesday was the first day the department did not have officers at that particular stop. After the tragedy, community activists and parents gathered at that bus stop to support kids as they came back from school. One of those activists, Juanisha Saunders, the owner of Helping Hands of Love. She was disappointed in LMPD's response and claims if LMPD officers spoke with the community a little bit more, the situation could have been different.
The community is the solution. We need men, we need the mothers, we need the cousins, we need the sisters, brothers. Come to the bus stop. The first thing we do is come together, because we could all say how many different plans we have or what motion, but right now the community just need to see the community and see us show up. That's it.
LMPD did detain a 15-year-old Wednesday that they thought was the shooter, but later determined that child wasn't the killer. So far, no arrests in that case. LMPD has arrested 2 teens, meanwhile, for firing shots near the same bus stop just last week. Rob Wells, Wave News.
Rob, thank you. And police have not said if that shooting that happened yesterday and the one that happened last week are connected. LMPD has arrested a second 15-year-old after bullets were fired on the first day of school at that same bus stop. That teenager, who isn't being named because they're underage, is now facing 33 counts of wanton endangerment. They're also charged with being a minor with a gun. No one was hurt during that shooting that happened last Thursday.
And this fear at school bus stops is all too familiar for a Louisville mother who lost her child after a shooting at a JCPS bus stop 4 years ago. 14-year-old Tyree Smith, an innocent bystander, was killed in a drive-by shooting in September of 2021 in the Russell neighborhood. Since then, a local organization called Men Against Gun Violence has been volunteering to deter violence and prevent tragedies like these from happening. Before yesterday's shooting, we spoke to Tyree's mother, Sharita Smith, about the need for increased safety at bus stops.
Our children have a right to go to school, to go to the grocery store, the parks, anywhere, and be safe. You know, if we're trusting our kids to do the right thing and be out and go, they shouldn't have to worry about someone shooting near where they're supposed to be loading the bus at.
The founder of Men Against Gun Violence tells Wave News he was on the way to the bus stop on Chestnut Street when the shooting happened yesterday morning. He says this highlights a need for more volunteers to help prevent tragedies.
Council members Tammy Hawkins and Ken Herndon are hosting a briefing this morning following yesterday's violence. It starts at 9 o'clock this morning at the stop off 10th and Chestnut across from the library. A resolution addressing youth safety in Louisville is expected to be discussed tonight by Metro Council. Metro Councilwoman Barbara Shanklin filed the measure last week. It was introduced to encourage parents and guardians to be aware of where their children are and what they're doing. Shanklin is also urging the community to step up and help prevent violence. This is a developing story, though. So many new details coming into our newsroom, and we'll keep you updated when we learn more. You can stay updated both on air and online at wave3.com.
Breaking overnight, LMPD says a man is dead after he was shot in the Klondike neighborhood. Investigators say it happened around 11:30 last night on Middale Lane, not far from Klondike Park. The victim's name has not been released. Police say a man barricaded himself in an apartment shortly after the shooting. Officers convinced the man to give himself up, and that's when they arrested him. LMPD has not released a suspect's name, but say charges are pending.
A woman is dead after she was shot on West Broadway. This happened near Brothers Food Market around 9 o'clock last night. When LMPD officers got to the scene, they found the wounded woman. She was rushed to the hospital where she died. LMPD has not found the shooter yet. There have now been 3 homicides in Louisville just within the past 24 hours. LMPD is asking anyone with information on any of these cases to call their anonymous tip line at 574-LMPD. Governor Andy Beshear is addressing allegations that non-U.S. citizens are paying to get Kentucky driver's licenses. The accusations come from a former KYTC employee's lawsuit. Governor Beshear said state and federal investigators are looking into these claims, and they're holding anyone who violated the law accountable. The governor revealed nearly 2,000 credentials have been revoked, and all employees involved may have been hired through a temp agency.
Ensuring the integrity of state-issued identification is a high priority, and any irregularities are taken seriously and investigated. So the Kentucky Transportation Cabinet regularly reviews credential applications, and during one of their reviews, they identified a number of irregularities, and they have revoked 1,985 credentials.
Governor Beshear says all the workers hired from the temp agency have since been fired.
Starting today, you can enjoy all things Kentucky at the Kentucky State Fair. It starts today and it runs through August 24th.
And there are so many things to see out there, from the rides, the games, blue ribbon competitions, homemade goods, fun for all ages. And Wave News reporter Marissa Burke has been having fun out there all morning. And what are you getting into now, Marissa?
We got to talk about the rides. It's always the rides. You know, that's one of the best parts, is getting on the rides. And there's some new attractions. So I have Eric German here with me this morning. So Eric, what can people look forward to when we talk about this section of the fair?
Oh my God, we're so happy to be back. We have over 100 rides, games, and attractions in Thrillville this year. Some new things like the Wonderland walk-through glass house, which is a house of mirrors, really cool. And then we've reconfigured, if you noticed up front here, the entrance, the VIP is right next to the entrance. We have the baby changing station right up at the entrance. So a lot of the family amenities are right up here at the entrance.
I think my favorite amenity, though, is that you can order food and they bring it to you, Eric.
So the VIP, if you upgrade to the VIP wristband, which you can do do online or right here at the gate. You get to skip the lines at all the rides. We have a VIP lounge, which is shaded with misters to keep you cool, private lavatory, and yeah, you order food, they'll bring it to you.
And then when you look at all of these rides, Eric, how many rides are we talking about?
Over 50 rides, yeah.
So over 50 times the fun.
Oh yeah, exactly. Kissel knows how fun is done.
So is there anything else people need to know about, the ticket prices?
Well, you can buy tickets online at Ticketmaster, or you can come right here and buy them right here at the gate.
I think it's time for me to have some fun. What do you think? Okay, can we slow that thing down so I can hop on? Because I got to do it. It's the state fair. The only way to do it is to do it. Okay, I'm going in, guys. We're going. So all the fun for the state fair starts today. And, I got to hold on. So all the fun for the state fair starts today. You have until August 24th. So, guys, I'm going to send it back to you while I hop on.
Looks like we just lost her connection. I hope she has fun. A reminder, the Kentucky State Fair does have an unaccompanied minors policy between Monday and Thursday after 6 p.m. and then all day, Friday through Sunday. Anyone under the age of 18 must be with someone 21 or older. Each adult can chaperone 6 minors at a time. State Fair officials say proof of age is required and will be checked at the gate. Coming up, Ford now recalling more than 100,000 trucks.
We'll tell you about the crash risk and how to get that problem fixed.
Ford is recalling over 100,000 models of its 2023 to 2025 F-150 trucks. They say a wheel bolt on the truck can break, potentially causing the vehicle to roll away, increasing the risk of a crash. The affected trucks all have the Trailer Tow Max Duty package. Owners can find their nearest Ford or Lincoln dealership to get it fixed, and the replacement service will be free.
Today's state transportation leaders want your input on how to make a busy Louisville intersection safer. KYTC is looking to make upgrades to 7th Street Road at the intersection of Manslick Road. Tonight, an open house will be held at the South Louisville Community Center to present ideas that could reduce the number of crashes in the area. That'll be from 5 to 7 tonight. Input from tonight's meeting will be used in a final report that's expected to be published by the end of the year. And a heads up, this weekend several roads will be closed as the Ironman Half Triathlon is is returning to Louisville. The Ironman 70.3 is scheduled to start early Sunday morning, kicking off with a 1.2-mile swim in the Ohio River before they bike 56 miles across the city, and they finish with a 13.1-mile run. The race will take over dozens of roads, so for a full list of those closures, we have those listed in this story on wave3.com. Good luck to everyone competing out there. It's already hard enough to do, and then to do it in this August heat.
Yeah, remember John Bull would do that every year. And then he'd come to work the next day.
Which I don't know how.
I wouldn't be able to walk.
Yeah,
I
I wouldn't be able to even do half of that though. So,
true. Yeah,
it's a lot. It's a beast.
Yeah, but then there's one you said even longer. It's like double that.
This is the half Ironman, and looking at those numbers, my mind is already blown. But yeah, to double that,
that's a lot.
Yeah, I will cheer y'all on from the sidelines.
Yeah, there you go. You're playing your part.
Yeah, that's my part in this role, and to tell you about the heat coming our way for the weekend, of course. So what we're dealing with right now is a bit of that fog showing up, seeing visibility down to a quarter of a mile towards Jasper, Campbellsville, seeing some more of that lower visibility near Fort Knox, even into parts of Franklin County, and especially if you're heading towards Lexington, this is where we're also seeing some of that fog because we did get a little bit of that heavy rain in the Franklin County, Lexington area yesterday. But good news is that now that sun is up, it will help to mix out some of that fog. Still seeing some of it showing up on the camera there in Carroll County, and a little bit as well towards Adair County, but thankfully we are going to continue to watch for improvements as we head over the next hour to 2 hours in terms of that fog. Plenty of sunshine for the rest of us not dealing with the fog. Some of these upper level clouds overhead right now as that front is still hanging out in our region. It's going to stay with us for today, but I'm going to step out of the way of this SkyTrack camera shot because it just looks like a painting with those mid-level cumulus clouds, the sunlight just streaming through them. It's just a gorgeous morning for those of you in Starlight, Indiana. Your temperatures are ranging from 68 degrees in Corydon to 72 in Campbellsville, seeing 70 right now in LaGrange, and at the airport in Louisville, our warm spot at 75 degrees. We'll end up near 90 for this afternoon. I cannot rule out a stray pop-up shower or thunderstorm this afternoon, but the majority of us hot and dry. Then we head into tonight. Warm and muggy across the region as we return to those 60s and low 70s for your overnight lows. Here's the 10-day and what we'll have going on. That heat sticking around and building as we head into the weekend. Tomorrow we're talking highs in the low 90s. By Saturday we're going to see mid 90s, and by Sunday, Monday, you could see highs near 97 degrees. So yes, it's going to be hot. Thankfully it won't be as humid. We actually see a slight drop in humidity for the weekend, but despite that, with our temperatures, our actual temperatures so high, we're still looking at a heat index over 100 degrees for many of us, so that's something we'll keep a close eye on. And then we head into the middle of next week. We'll closely watch what's going to be going on in the tropics as what will be at that time, Hurricane Erin, makes its way north somewhere in the Atlantic. Now, this front here is going to gradually try to sink to the south as well as we head into Wednesday. And as Erin pushes off to the north, we'll see this front continuing to march to the south, bringing some more of those scattered showers and thunderstorms in our forecast for portions of your Wednesday and Thursday. Friday's looking drier, save a couple of isolated downpours for our southernmost counties. For your Thursday and Friday, this is when we'll see those highs returning to the mid to upper 80s for your highs, and then we'll talk about more of that heat building as we get into the following weekend. We'll have much more of Sunrise Extra after this break.
This October, a conference to help people build financial stability will take place at Caesars Southern Indiana.
The person behind this is a Louisville man. He's only 23 years old. I sat down with him, and he's been hustling since he was just 8 years old.
Sorry to keep you guys waiting.
Thaddeus Major can often be found working on one of the homes he's flipping. So far, that number is up to 30. He's used to working hard for financial rewards, something he discovered at a young age.
So I wanted a remote control car, and my parents wouldn't get it for me because I had already gotten one remote control car.
His parents own Alpha Cheer Gymnastics. He started making and selling hair bows.
But everyone was buying them. I don't think anyone would buy a bow from an 8-year-old anyway.
Did you get the other remote control car?
Oh, I did, within a week.
The Brown Elementary School student turned that money into a new venture.
So I started cutting grass, knocking door to door at 13. I bought a lawnmower from my bow money.
He joined Future Business Leaders of America at Trinity High School.
I bought a lot of Bitcoin.
And invested in Bitcoin after learning about it, using that money to expand his landscaping crew to 10 and started throwing parties for high school kids they would pay to get in.
For every 100 persons, we will have one security guard. So I would have about 10 security. I would have 2 ambulances on standby.
He then turned his attention to real estate. Now he's working on stabling the income of families. He's putting on a conference called Eternal Wealth, where financial advisors and business leaders will offer insight to those in attendance.
Eternal wealth, because the wealth will last forever.
How did someone just 23 become so motivated?
I give a lot of credit to my parents. A lot of credit to my parents, and even more credit to God.
He says he's donated 16 lawnmowers to kids to give them a head start.
If I could give them that push, maybe they'll go farther than I did.
Shannon Kogan, Wave News. And Thaddeus also speaks at juvenile detention centers. He helps teens map out their future so when they get out into the workforce, they have a head start. For information about his conference, you can go to this story at wave3.com. 23. Wow.
So impressive.
Yeah.
Thanks, Shannon. And today is the move-in day for first-year U of L students. Nearly 4,100 students will move into their residence halls for the start of the fall semester. Also today, university leaders will talk about the upcoming academic year and the excitement surrounding those incoming freshmen. That's happening this morning at 8 o'clock at Belknap Village South at the University of Louisville. Classes for U of L begin Monday, August 18th. They get a little bit of a gap after those other students go back. So,
yes.
Yeah, exciting time.
Remember moving in?
Yeah, I'm very thankful for my dad.
Yes,
and
I
my
bet.
roommate's dad and the upperclassmen who helped out too.
We'll be right back with another look at local news and weather.
This Wave News Update is sponsored by Oxmoor Auto Group.
Good morning. This is Shannon Kogan. This morning, there will be an increased police presence at a JCPS bus stop where a woman was shot and killed Wednesday morning. Police are still looking for the shooter, and investigators have now released this photo. The shooting happened at the bus stop on 10th and Chestnut yesterday morning. It's the second time shots have been fired near that bus stop this school year. If you recognize this person, know anything, contact LMPD. Here's Tawana, the start of the Kentucky State Fair, and it's going to be hot.
Yeah, but we're kind of used to that. Every year we deal with some of the most intense heat as we head throughout the Kentucky State Fair. For today, though, we're mainly watching some areas of patchy, locally dense fog that may slow down your morning commute. But we're also seeing views like this. This is what it looks like right now for those of you in Starlight, Indiana. So a gorgeous start to the day there. Overall, yes, we're quiet this morning, just with a little bit of that fog going on. And once we head into the afternoon, going to keep things mainly quiet. Temperatures right now are in the 60s and the low 70s. Once we head into the afternoon, we'll end back up near 90 degrees for your highs as we watch for a couple of isolated showers and thunderstorms in the forecast. And then here is your 10-day. Here's what we got going on. We will be monitoring that heat trying to build throughout the weekend with highs near 97 degrees towards Sunday and Monday. That heat index over 100 degrees then. And then we'll see, of course, a bit of a cool down along with some rain chances by the middle and end of next week. Rob?
And Tawana, keeping our eyes on 264 East at Southern Parkway, we're told that we have a vehicle there that apparently has been abandoned in that area, so that is causing some slowdowns in that area. And as always, make sure that you give yourself a lot of extra time and patience as you head through the construction zones. Make it a great Thursday. We'll see you back here a little bit later this morning.
Thanks for staying with us here on Sunrise Extra. A lot of things to get to, including headlines from U of L football ahead of the season opener at the end of this month. Plus, we are continuing to track the violence in our city. Earlier this week, our Rob Wells had the chance to speak to the new executive director of the Office of Violence Prevention. We'll air that extended interview coming up in just a few minutes. But first, more than a year after they pitched a proposal, developers have the approval to build a subdivision in rural Clark County. Premier Homes faced an uphill battle in trying to flesh out a sprawling community on roughly 180 acres by Cronin Columbus Man roads. Wave News reporter Logan Perrone explains how leaders came to their decision and how we got here in the first place.
Based on the facts I have presented here today, I respectfully request that this zoning change be rejected in its entirety.
I bet you everyone in this room is a voter. I will vote against anyone that approves this. Know that.
A proposed subdivision in Memphis, Indiana, put on pause Thursday.
It's people's livelihoods, you know, and the people in the area, like I said, that live in this area, they live in this area for a reason.
Kara Kennedy has lived in Memphis her entire life and says many in her community have concerns over the proposal that could bring about 500 homes to a town of just under 900. Traffic, infrastructure, and taxes were a few of the concerns residents brought up at the meeting.
Not including the daycares, the sewers, the waters, increase in taxes.
The amount of increased traffic that would result from this project would be extremely unsafe given the state of the narrow, poorly maintained county roads that surround it.
Kennedy also says the development goes against the county's comprehensive plan.
The comprehensive plan states that any future development that occurs in the county should accommodate either preservation or agricultural land or appropriate development of agricultural land.
Under the new proposal, land would be rezoned from agriculture to R2 or medium density residential. This would allow for smaller lots with less frontage and ultimately a more dense subdivision.
This is not going to stay farm ground. It will change, whether it's these guys, me, or somebody else.
Richard Dreyer owns the land and says rezoning it would bring sewer service to the area and give more certainty for the future.
And getting this zoning change fixes all that. Forever cures that problem.
Developers with Premier Homes agreed to speak with us after the meeting about tonight's decision, but simply left saying no comment. Kennedy and other residents say they don't want to close the door on development, but want to see a more realistic plan for the future of Memphis.
You know, based off of what that comprehensive plan says and the decisions that follow, you know, I, again, don't feel like that multitude of houses is reasonable.
Logan Perrone, Wave News.
And when that subdivision is complete, a little more than 72 acres will be left untouched, though some of that can be developed by the HOA. We again asked Kraft to speak with us after the plan was approved, and he declined. Metro Council's Minority Caucus says it's working on new policies as a response to a man allegedly kidnapping a family from their home and forcing them to drive to a bank to rob it. Police say Armand Langford forced his victims to take him to the PNC Bank on Shelbyville Road. Officers say Langford stabbed the mom and the children were not physically hurt. But last year, Langford pleaded guilty to a series of 2021 robberies, but was released on shock probation just months into a 14-year prison sentence. 12 Republican members of the Louisville Metro Council say the decision to give Langford shock probation was a terrible mistake. They say local prosecutors and judges are not scrutinized the same way as LMPD. The caucus says they will create policy ideas that will hold judges accountable. Well, Kentucky Governor Andy Beshear says he's receiving good feedback on his plan to bring pre-K to all kids in the Commonwealth. The governor's office hosted 4 town hall meetings across Kentucky to hear directly from parents, business owners, and community leaders about the need for pre-K. In the 2 months since the launch of Pre-K for All, Kentuckians have sent more than 21,000 emails to legislators. Beshear says the initiative would grow the Kentucky workforce by 70,000 jobs and save families almost $7,000 a year.
It's about getting the best education for our kids. It's about getting parents back to work. It's about our families being able to afford things at a time when it's really difficult to pay the bills.
The next town hall will take place on Wednesday, August 20th at the fair. That'll be in Southwest Wing at the Expo Center from 5:30 to 7 p.m. Happening today, we expect to learn more about a new economic development Texas Roadhouse is planning in Louisville. The CEO of the Louisville-based restaurant chain will be joining Mayor Greg Greenberg for the announcement. The mayor's office says it will be a significant economic development, but didn't give any details about the project. The announcement will be made at 1 this afternoon at the company's corporate headquarters on Dutchman's Lane. And this comes as GE says it will make their biggest investment in Appliance Park since it was built. The company announced plans to invest $3 billion into American manufacturing. The company plans to invest $490 million into upgrades to Appliance Park here in Louisville. That's part of an overall $3 billion plan to boost American manufacturing. The money will create 1,000 jobs across 5 states, with the center of their operations continuing to be Appliance Park in Louisville. Governor Andy Beshear toured the plant and says this move is returning jobs from China back to Louisville.
GE also chose to bring laundry production to Louisville, reshoring from China to Kentucky.
GE also unveiled a new mobile laundry unit that will help families displaced by events like tornadoes have access to clean laundry for free. That can make such a difference in those recovery efforts. Louisville Zoo is feeling a little bit more down under thanks to a special UPS delivery of 2 furry koalas, and they are cutie pies. Their names are Chuckles and Myala. The Australian marsupials were put on the flight from the West Coast, and the koalas are still getting comfortable with their new home, so guests will get to see them in their new habitat sometime soon. But the zoo does have 2 other koalas that you can go out there and meet, and they are just so adorable. Louisville leaders are helping people make sure their pets are healthy. Metro Animal Services is hosting a series of free spay or neuter clinics. You can also get microchipping and vaccinations by registering your dog. The clinics will be hosted monthly through December on the last Sunday of the month. The next clinic is August 31st from 8 a.m. until noon. It'll be at Animal Services location on Newburgh Road. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back with more Sunrise Extra right after this. Just within the past 24 hours, there have been 3 deadly shootings in Louisville, including one at a JCPS bus stop. The Office of Violence Prevention is in charge of reducing gun violence in the city, and Wave News reporter Rob Wells got the chance to speak with the new executive director about what this position and this office means to him.
So the Office of Violence Prevention, it took the work that the Office for Safety and expanded the scope slightly, but really a lot of what I've been asked to do is take the pilot programs and the different things that we've found that work the best and put all of our resources into those. So, with the American Rescue Plan funding, we had a lot of latitude to start new pilots, to fund a lot of community organizations over the years. Without having it in front of me, we've funded, I believe, 300 different grants and contracts since 2022, over almost $30 million worth. Now that those that ARP period is coming to an end, my office in particular has found things like the community violence intervention sites that we've been running. Have seen a great amount of success across the city, and the 4 sites that we have, and then Metro Council has decided in this year's budget to fund a 5th, and this will be the first general funded CVI site, which we are setting up currently. And then also our anti-violence coalitions. Those are neighborhood-driven groups identifying issues, and then we are helping them identify solutions, funding those and coordinating those. And that goes along with some of our other longstanding programs like our TRC, Trauma Resilient Communities, which is really helping individuals, communities, and neighborhoods heal after a violent act has occurred, and also trying to provide resilience and intervention and prevention before those things occur. We also have our community and youth engagement services that's putting out programming for youth, trying to, and actually the ABCs are part of that division as well. So really trying to coordinate youth, coordinate communities into both prevention and intervention efforts to reduce violence.
If I read correctly, the organization initially started in its early stages in 2013 in the city of Louisville. What is the biggest pivot since then? We can't even compare not only Louisville, but any other city to what it was 12 years ago, although it doesn't feel like it was that much long ago. What are we facing now that we weren't in 2013? What's your biggest barrier?
Well, and actually this is, the city has allowed us to have a pretty robust research team now led by Dr. Ivan Benitez. And part of what he is doing with us, not only data analysis, but also trying to look back and do causal research and find out what's going on. Because in 2014 and 15, that was the first time that the homicide rate in the city doubled. We don't know why. So we're actually looking back at data from those times and trying to determine what happened then. And then again, of course, with the height of violence in the end of 2021 and the beginning of 2022, we saw another precipitous rise. Now, not only is violence going down across the country, it is reducing in our city. We are seeing it reduce at a faster rate here in the city and even faster in the sites where we have our programming like CVI and ABCs. But we are trying to find out what caused those initial things so we can prevent that in the future. So even though we're seeing a lot of strides, which I have those figures in front of me, I think in our CVI sites, we're seeing a 53% decline in homicides year to date compared to last year. There's always prevention work to do. We never want to get back to that point. So we want to make sure that we're building a structure of nonviolence and violence reduction that we can rely on in the future.
And not only here, but everywhere, but I feel especially Louisville, 2020 was the game changer. We had the Breonna Taylor case in Louisville, which gained global attention, and we had the pandemic. Did that change the kind of the trajectory of this city, of how communities interact forever, do you believe? Have we ever gotten over that time 5 years ago?
The pandemic was definitely the affecting change in the cases which we're seeing in every city and across the world when it comes to violent crime, the rise in homicides and things like that. I think that there was a change that the pandemic precipitated. We're not really sure. We're still finding that out. I mean, you know, it's only 5 years, and while we're trying to look back and figure out, was it a loss of cohesion and, you know, community places where people can gather and mix and, you know, talk to their neighbors and, you know, discuss their problems with each other? Is that's what's missing? We're trying to look at a lot of different things. So the way that we do that is, while we identify programs that are around, so like last year, and another thing we're trying to fund this year is a barbershop program, not only providing, you know, free haircuts for youth and young men, but also providing a space where people can talk and then come back into that community space that may have been affected by the pandemic. If we find that that has a very positive effect, maybe that's something that we can continue to support that will, you know, and possibly was a cause looking back. We never know for sure.
And the Breonna Taylor case, how did that forever change us, divide us, or bring us together, do you think, as a community?
I don't think that that affected the gun violence rate.
What about the actual thing about, connecting officers and resources with the neighborhoods in which they serve. Do you think that's important? I mean, I see cops on bikes and cops walking through neighborhoods. Is that a big part of it too? Not only what you're doing, but kind of getting communities acclimated to the people, the men and women in blue that keep them safe. Is that kind of a big initiative as well moving forward?
Well, our department is specifically non-law enforcement. We are focused on the prevention and intervention parts of that. And actually, there is even in the Safe Louisville plan, there's some wording in there where it's, distinct, different, and there is a gap between our services. We always want to increase community trust in government. That's a big part of our mission as well. I think that LMPD is doing that on their own terms. And, especially with the Community Safety Committee that was just convened, LMPD will be reporting to them in terms of the consent decree. My office will be reporting to them as well, just in terms of keeping them updated with our work, things like that. So I think that while we're in the business of reducing violence, hopefully down to zero, that is, of course, we're always approaching perfection. I think LMPD is dealing with that as they can.
Are other cities following our lead in this? Are we the only community metro area in the state of Kentucky that has this right now? Are there, does Bowling Green have something? Would I find this in Hazard?
So I'm not sure about Hazard. We have met and, building a relationship with our counterparts in Lexington, which of course they just revealed their new strategic plan. Divine Karama is the director, my counterpart in Lexington. Of course, we have talked about advocating on a statewide level for this. This is not a competition. Our goal is for the people of Kentucky to be as safe as possible, to live their lives without fear in those cases. So no, we're not the only place in Kentucky. And of course, there's nationwide systems of offices just like ours. I do think that our office is on the leading edge of many of the things that we're doing, especially with the CVI sites, especially with the anti-violence coalitions. Those are things where we are kind of treading new water in a lot of cases. And that's another thing that I appreciate Dr. Benitez for, is he's there to help catalog this success, and then we can report that out and try and help other people in other cities from what we're seeing is the best way to reduce violence.
Stick with us here on Sunrise Extra. Coming up after the break, we'll hear from U of L's new quarterback, Miller Moss, plus an Indiana high school team that is looking to win back-to-back state championships. That's all coming up in 2 minutes. As if the first 2 years of the Jeff Brom era of U of L football haven't been exciting enough, year 3 has a chance to be something very special because usually that third year is when a new head coach is really able to get into the program and make a difference. And there are certainly some high expectations for their third transfer quarterback, Miller Moss. He's coming over from the University of Southern California. Moss says he's starting to feel comfortable with the playbook and in his role as the Cards' starting QB.
I think it's just been cool to see how it's evolved, you know. Obviously coming in spring, or really coming in the winter, and seeing that huge book for the first time was a little daunting, but I think it's been cool to kind of see how that's evolved and see how, you know, my mastery of that has grown. I feel really comfortable right now. I'm excited to kind of continue to take steps in that direction. Usually a team goes in one specific direction, but I think, you know, Coach Brom's really unique and he has the ability to do a lot of different things.
And we'll see how he adjusts to that Jeff Brom offense on August 30th. That's when the Cards kick off their season against EKU. That game will be at L&N Stadium. And speaking of football, how about 1 week until high school football kicks off? And for the Providence Pioneers, they're looking to do something they have never done before, and that's defend their Indiana State title. Sports anchor Dusty Baker sat down with the coaches and players to see how they can work out that goal.
This is a totally different team, you know, new group of seniors.
There is a lot of new happening at Providence High School.
Each one of those guys, you know, kind of brings something a little bit different to the table than maybe last year's group did.
A fresh turf field, a newly resurfaced track, and one more piece still on the way, that championship banner.
Yeah, of course, we had a great team last year. Bunch of great seniors that helped lead us, and we're just taking that motivation from the state win and we're bringing in this year.
The Pioneers are riding the momentum of a perfect 14-0 season and their first state title in school history.
We've gotten a lot of attention because of it, and deservingly so. I mean, it was the first football state championship in Providence history. Our guys really earned a lot of that celebration.
And while the standard has been set for Daniel McDonald's squad,
once you win that state title, you establish yourself as an elevated program.
Coach Mack is a big role model for me. To accomplish something like that with him, it just felt amazing.
They want to put the title in the past and be the class that kept a winning tradition alive.
You look back on last year and the accomplishments, and you just try to build on those, but at the same time, it's a new season, and you've got to work just as hard, if not harder.
And now with that experience, we know what we need to perfect and get ready for in order to make it back to Lucas Oil.
And it'll be an exciting start to their new season on new turf surrounded by a new track. And that'll be when Providence hosts New Albany on the 22nd. Good luck to all of our local high school teams and our college teams. Hope they all have a successful and a safe season out there on the field. That's all the time we have here for Sunrise Extra. Thanks so much for joining us. Hope you have a great Thursday.